So today, on International Women's Day, it gives us an opportunity to recognize the impressive feats that women have taken on and have accomplished. It's a day to thank women for their daily contributions, again, both big, where they win the awards and they make the headlines, but also for those day-to-day contributions that they make to raising healthy, strong children, to being the fabric in the family, to be that contributor in the workplace. But this isn't a day that we just look back and recognize those who have made great accomplishments. It's also a day that we look ahead at the work that we have to do to continue to advance equality and justice for all women. So just down the hallway from here in the rotunda is the portrait monument. And we all see it, we walk by it, maybe we just don't even notice it anymore, but take a look at it next time. We know the pioneering women who are represented on it: Lucretia Mott, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and Susan B. Anthony. But we need to look at it more carefully. We need to remember there's a fourth bust that Adelaide Johnson did not sculpt, and the base of the monument is also unfinished. And it's a reflection of the unfinished struggle for women's rights and equality. So for all the progress that we've made, and we know it has been considerable, Madam President, as you're sitting in that chair and this woman from Alaska is addressing you, we've made great progress, but the struggle is unfinished. The data documents the gaps in gender equality in our country, and too many women feel it firsthand in their daily lives. So on International Women's Day, I also want to remind the Senate of a couple important ways that we can help further women's rights, and I'm pleased that my colleague, Senator Cardin, is on the floor at this moment, because we've been working together. We've been working together to try to finish off, to do this unfinished business when it comes to ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment, to ensure women's equality is expressly recognized in our Constitution. 3/4 of the states have now ratified that amendment. Alaska did it back in 1972, Virginia most recently in 2020. I'm hopeful that its time has come. And to help facilitate that, Senator Cardin and I have introduced a resolution to remove the arbitrary ratification deadline from the ERA so that it can finally take effect. I think the Senate needs to take this resolution up and pass it like the House of Representatives did last year. Another step, a critical step that we must take now, is the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act to help ensure that there is a path to justice for survivors of interpersonal violence. I was very proud to introduce the new VAWA bill with Senator Durbin, Senator Ernst, and Senator Feinstein last month. I'm pleased, so pleased, that we have 22 total co-sponsors, 11 from each party. Our bipartisan bill modernizes the nearly 3 decades-old Violence Against Women Act, and it reauthorizes important programs that provide services to survivors. It directs resources to prevent further violence and hold perpetrators accountable for their actions, and it takes needed and important steps to address domestic violence, sexual assault, dating violence, and stalking. I mentioned dating violence. We have a provision that I had included that we have named after an Alaskan victim of dating violence, and that is Brianna Moore. We focused on improving access to medical forensics for victims of violence, including through training for medical professionals that will allow them to provide evidence-based and trauma-informed care. We have a strong tribal title in this VAWA bill. It builds on VAWA 2013 by closing the gaps in the law to protect Native people. The tribal title also includes an Alaska pilot program, which provides a targeted solution to help empower tribes in a way that recognizes the unique and complex jurisdictional landscape that we have in my state. It's a recognition that tribes are valuable partners. They're critical partners that can play a larger role in providing public safety while reducing the burden on my state. As I have said many times before, there should be nothing partisan about keeping people safe from violence. And our VAWA reauthorization is the result of Many years of hard work and negotiation by advocates and stakeholders alike. I hope that we can consider this and pass this very, very soon. I recognize the great work of Senator Ernst on our side and Senator Durbin and Senator Feinstein on the other side of the aisle. It has been an effort that is timely, is needed, and is necessary. So, Madam President, I'm happy to be able to recognize for just a few moments on this International Women's Day, as we celebrate the many, many incredible women in our lives and in our countries. We also recognize that our work for true equality remains unfinished, but we've got some good paths forward if we can just try. And with that, Madam President, I yield the floor.
Madam President.
The senator from Maryland.
First, let me thank Senator Murkowski for her leadership on behalf of women's issues here in the United States Senate. I join her in calling for the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act, and I'm glad that she mentioned that. I join her as her partner in the ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment. We have to pass a resolution here extending the date. Senator Murkowski has been a leader in all these issues. And during Women's History Month, I am using this time to point out the progress we've made. Senator Murkowski, you mentioned that we've made tremendous progress on behalf of gender equality here in the United States. But we still have a path in front of us. And I was pleased to see Senator Murkowski point out the challenges that still exist and the reason why we need to be active in regards to gender equity issues, including the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act and the passage of the Equal Rights Amendment. So I thank her for her leadership, and I'm glad to be her partner on many of these issues. So today we can celebrate the progress that has been made and call attention to the obstacles that persist. Throughout our nation's history, generations of women have won hard-fought battles in pushing closer and closer towards securing full citizenship in all that entails. Our nation today is stronger from this progress, reaching new milestones in gender equality. President Biden's announcement earlier this month of his historic selection of Judge Jackson to fill the role of the retiring Supreme Court Justice Breyer on the highest court in our land. Judge Jackson would be the first black woman to serve on the court and only the fifth woman to serve as a justice of the total of 115 that have served on the Supreme Court throughout our history. I was pleased, along with Senator Van Hollen, to recommend Lydia Grigsby to serve on the United States District Court for the District of Maryland. She is the first black female judge to serve in the state of Maryland. Yes, Madam President, we have a lot to celebrate during Women's History Month here in March. During President Biden's recent State of the Union address, which I attended, I was struck by the image of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Vice President Kamala Harris flanking President Biden. Vice President Harris is our first woman and first woman of color to hold the second highest office in the land. Though they undoubtedly both experience significant challenges and obstacles on their career path due to their gender, they are now serving in two of the highest-ranking offices in our government. President Biden has appointed one of the most diverse cabinets in history, including the first woman to serve as Treasury Secretary and Director of National Intelligence. We have a lot to celebrate on our path for gender equality in America, but we still have more that needs to be done. At the same time, structural disadvantages and inequalities on account of gender persist across so many areas here in America. As one example, as chair of the Small Business and Entrepreneurship Committee, where the presiding officer also serves, I've been working over the course of COVID-19 pandemic to understand the economic effects on small businesses and to help provide needed resources. In this role, I've seen firsthand the structural disadvantages experienced by women-owned small businesses and how they have been compounded by the challenges of this pandemic. We need to take action to help in regards to that issue. Further, the Supreme Court actions to date in cases related to reproductive freedom indicate an alarming openness to overturning the precedents that have given women control over their own bodies and futures for decades. Among many other important reasons, full reproductive autonomy is essential in ensuring that women are able to participate fully as citizens in all facets of our democracy. I am pleased that President Biden established the first Gender Policy Council to advance gender equity across the entire federal government, and that the Gender Policy Council issued the first ever national gender strategy to support the full participation of all people, including women and girls, in the United States and around the world. Yes, we have unfinished business in regards to gender equity issues. I am committed to working to advance the Equal Rights Amendment that Senator Murkowski talked about. The two of us are the lead sponsors of the resolution in this body that would remove the arbitrary time limit. This simple amendment, the Equal Rights Amendment, first written by Alice Paul in 1923, states, "Equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on account of sex. The Congress shall have the power to enforce by appropriate legislation the provisions of this article," end quote. I can't understand any objection to including that fundamental protection in the Constitution of the United States. As President Biden stated in his presidential proclamation during this History Women's Month, and I quote the president, "But despite the progress being made, women and girls, especially women and girls of color, still face systemic barriers to full participation and wider gaps in opportunity and equality. The Congress sent the Equal Rights Amendment to the states for ratification 50 years ago, and it's long past time that the principle of women's equality should be enshrined in our Constitution," end quote. And as Senator Murkowski said, the requisite number of states have ratified the Constitution, that Equal Rights Amendment. It was the arbitrary time limit that was put on by Congress. This is the only reason we haven't had the certification process. The vast majority of Americans agree with this principle today. And a 2020 AP poll found that 74% of Americans, 74%, favor the Equal Rights Amendment. A second spring poll conducted by Pew found that 78% of the respondents were in support of adding women to the Constitution. In a nation as divided as ours has become, a principle with this level of support on this important topic compels our attention and our action. Given that so much has changed since this amendment was first written, and since it was first proposed by Congress to the states, it's worth explaining some of the practical effects that it could have if formalized today. First, it would expand legal recourse against gender discrimination. Second, it would empower those of us in Congress to enact stronger laws preventing gender discrimination across a wide array of issues. Third, it would require the Supreme Court or courts to use a higher standard of review than is currently applied in cases of gender discrimination. The ratification of the ERA could be expected to have effects across such diverse areas as pay discrimination, LGBTQ rights, gender-based and domestic violence, sexual harassment, and more. This constitutional amendment would provide a firmer foundation for existing laws and create new authority for Congress to pass laws in areas in which it has historically lacked constitutional prerogative. Our Constitution is a framework of, by, and for the people. It must be able to evolve to meet the changing views and beliefs of the people. Already, a majority of the United States Senate has co-sponsored the bipartisan resolution that I referred to, SJ Res 1, that Senator Murkowski and I introduced to remove the procedural deadline that Congress once set to honor the clear will of the people and to make the legitimacy of our 28th Amendment clear beyond a doubt. The House of Representatives has already passed this resolution twice. It's time for us to do the same. I look forward to the opportunity to bring this resolution to the floor in the coming months and would strongly urge every one of my colleagues to support that resolution. 38 states have already ratified it. Most Americans already think it's in our Constitution. Let's get that job done.